Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the African Voice broadcast on this channel. I welcome you once more. Today, we're going to talk about, as usual, our main agenda is how to go about uniting the continent of Africa. There are many challenges. A lot of them seem almost impossible to overcome. But I'm here to tell you that it is not impossible. It looks impossible, but it's not. It's just that there are so many forces that work against that end that it looks almost impossible. But let me ask you a question. If these European powers back in 1884 found a way to sit in an office and divide among themselves an entire continent, they sat down at a table and divided an entire continent between themselves. And they did it successfully. They came and colonized, and for years, for almost 100 years, more than 100 years in most places, they actually had direct control of those countries. And then in the 60s, there was this push. In the 50s and the 60s, there was this push for independence for these countries. And of course, it worked. Countries got independent, starting with countries like Ghana and Nigeria and Kenya and others. And we thought that finally we have the right to self-determination, that we are able to now determine what we want for ourselves and our children. But no, it was a con game. We were lied to. We assumed that our leaders will be our leaders. But it turned out, no, these were just middlemen who actually just now channeled our economy to favor our former former colonial masters. Could be British, could be French, could be German, could be anybody, Belgium. But for years and years and years, that's how it went. And there were some leaders who tried to change that, to make sure that we have true independence. Leaders like Kwame Nkrumah or Patrice Lumumba in the beginning. But you know what happened to them. Someone like Patrice Lumumba was outrightly murdered. Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown and sent to exile. And that whole project just ended, the project of African unity. At least Kwame Nkrumah and his Pan-Africanist friends, they had made it to where we had the Organization of African Unity. They had found its headquarters in Ethiopia. And the choice of Ethiopia was important because Ethiopia has never been colonized. So there was no danger that we can put our African headquarters in a country that is then directly under the influence of a colonial master. Ethiopia did not have a colonial master. They have always been independent. So that was the thinking behind placing that capital in Ethiopia, besides the cooperation of the former leader of Ethiopia, Emperor Haile Selassie, who actually helped a lot and funded some of these things. But here we are, many years later, 50 years later, where we now are faced with a growing population, young kids. We have the youngest population in the world by age. There is no other continent that can say that. Other continents, they have aging people. They are rich, they have money, but they are old, Africa, on the other hand, we are very young. The average age of an African is about 19 or 20 years. So you can see the level of the amount of energy and innovation that can come from these young people. And the danger if we don't do something about these young people who are flooding our cities, they are flooding our towns. They don't have employment and they need to be employed. There are many of them. And if we don't do something about it, they are gonna come after you. And as we see in West Africa, in some of these West African countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and now Niger, They are actually kicking the former colonial masters who have always controlled those economies and exploited them. They're kicking them out. And some of us are cheering, some of us are worried, some of us don't know what to do. But you've seen what the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has done. ECOWAS has clearly sided with the French and the former colonial masters. They are actually preparing to invade Niger and overthrow the new leaders there and restore the former president. But that is being met with a lot of backlash from other Africans. Like, why are you joining these former colonial masters in the continued exploitation of our people? And that is a question that has been going on for a minute. But ECOWAS is determined. It looks like it's determined. Obviously, ECOWAS is funded by the European Union. It's also funded probably by America. They always intervene in some of these things when they happen in West Africa. But they don't come in on their own. Nigeria is the leader of ECOWAS. Obviously, Nigeria has the financial muscle to do one or two things in West Africa by the sheer size and population of Nigeria. It's the superpower, it's the richest country in Africa. They have some resources, but they need help. And the help they're getting from these colonial masters. So Nigeria is not working in our interest. ECOWAS is not working in the larger African interest that we want to see. But now the question is, what's the alternative? The alternative is you rush to Russia. I've seen the West African, the new government in Niger, the coup plotters who have taken over power. They are actually asking Russia and the Wagner Group of mercenaries that is based in Russia, to come in and fend off ECOWAS. But we are still relying on a foreign power, you know. So to me, it's a solution maybe, but it's temporary, and it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't be in a place where, faced by this choice of what do we do with our freedom, we have to look for other countries, other people, other powers to come and do this for us. So the people of Niger are caught up between a rock and a hard place, and they may have just to go with Russia. Russia right now, I don't think it has even the muscle or the financial strength to take on America or to take on France. I don't know, but I doubt it. I mean, they are embroiled in this conflict, in this war in Ukraine. They are, you would say it's right now it's a draw, you know. It's not like they are overrunning Ukraine. So I don't know if we bring that whole mess to Niger, that it will solve anything. But at the same time, we cannot let France and the Western imperialists come in and do whatever they want. So we are caught between a rock and a hard place. And that shouldn't be the case. The case, and this is the important thing, the people who came of age in the 70s and the 80s should have been the people who pushed this. But they could not, because they were ruled by autocrats and small dictators who were working on behalf of the Western countries. So people's ideas were suppressed. You had to do what the leader wants you to do. We had a slew of dictators in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. We're just now starting to get a little bit relief from dictatorships in Africa. But now here we are. The work has not been done. We don't have a functioning entity that can take care of this. ECOWAS is obviously working for others, not for us. What do? We just take what we can for now. But we need to seriously start thinking. and seriously start planning, seriously start talking about getting ourselves to be a power unto ourselves, a power, an African power that is a global power. And the only way to do that is to have one country with one government, with one military, one foreign service. But how do we go about that? We have so many divisions of tribe and color sometimes, and divisions of religion. But I'm here to tell you that actually by getting this big government, we are going to solve those little divisions. They should bring us together. These divisions of religion, these divisions of tribe. If we take a government that is based in Addis Ababa, it will dilute the power of these tribes and of these other divisions. And hopefully we can then take care of small things like this. A country like Niger doesn't have to look for help from Russia. It doesn't have to look for help from China. It doesn't have to look for help anywhere. We should be able to just be there for them. And how can we be there for them? There are no systems. As the rest of Africa, we have no system to do that. And that's the system we need to set up, and we need to set it up ASAP, quickly. We need to really do this now. We don't have time. The AU has this Agenda 2063 thing going. That's how many years from now? 2063, we're in 2023, 40 years from now. We don't have 40 years to plan this. We don't have 40 years to take care of the youth, the young people who are dying every day, trying to get away from Africa, trying to look for ways. And wherever they go, whether they go to the Middle East or they go to Europe or they go to Americas or they go to Australia, they are second-hand citizens in those countries. I don't care how well they are paid. They're still second-hand citizens. And we need to stop that. We need to figure out how our own kids can remain on our continent working for us. We have educated them. We have spent money, taxpayers' money, to give them good health care. They are healthy by the time they leave Africa. Why are they going to serve other people? We should figure out how they will stay in our continent. And the only way to do it, in my opinion, is to dissolve these small countries. Not necessarily dissolve them totally. There will always be an entity called Nigeria, or an entity called Kenya, or an entity called South Africa or Rwanda. But the power, some of the power, has to go to this bigger entity that can protect all of us. And I would like us to think more. I hope that people like and subscribe to this channel, but I would also really appreciate a comment. Give your ideas on how to go about this. But the only way to do this, in my opinion, is first of all to sensitize people. Sensitize people at the local level. Sensitize people at the grassroots. Talk to them about the benefits of this. One of the benefits would probably be that immediately this government is constituted, it will take off, it will actually just lift the burden of foreign debt. Every country in Africa is sagging under the weight of foreign debt, from debt to China, debt to America, debt to the European Union, debt to the World Bank, debt to IMF. And they are spending significant amount of money. The money that they raise locally with their taxes and with their fees. They're spending a lot of that money servicing that debt. This African Union, the African nation government could just lift that up overnight and get it off the shoulders of the people, so that your taxes that you're still paying to your countries, they reduce significantly, and they go into doing things that matter to you at the local level. And The bigger government will find its own ways. It has to be able to also tax, but it also gets a lot of, it would also get money on on trade, and export fees and all that. So it will be a self-sufficient government, and I believe it would bring in a lot of savings for us, especially in foreign service and in military, that we would have immediate relief for our people. But now we are here looking at Niger. We don't know whether ECOWAS will invade. If ECOWAS is invading, that is America and France invading. Let's not lie to ourselves about that. And if there is a counter offensive, as Burkina Faso and Mali have promised, then we know that is Russia coming in, and that's a conflict, global powers using our soil to settle their own scores, and it's our people who suffer every day. We need to think about this. We need to think about how to get out of this. But there is only one thing that I believe: one nation, one government, one military, one currency, one foreign service, one immigration service, one customs service, and we'll be fine. I believe we'll be fine. So let's think more about this. There's no time to waste. These kids are wasting away. They are well educated. This is not the 60s where Kenyans were, Africans were not literate. Now we have people who have gone to school. We have engineers, we have lawyers, we have doctors, we have nurses, we have everything we need. So let's do this, people. And you can start by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video so that this message gets out to a lot more people, and a lot more people start talking about these things so that we can see whether there is a future for our continent. Thank you, and have a good day. Bye-bye.